Hey guys, what is going on? It's Alexander Williamson here with the Secret History Living in Your Aquarium. How's everybody doing? I was just over in Rico Stan's stream watching Irene from Internet Land and Girl Talks Fish. And yeah, very cool stream. I've always really liked watching her. So, how is everybody doing tonight? We doing well? We doing good? Looking good? Feeling good, Lewis. Let's see who's in here. Who's early birds? You know, I don't know why you're early birds on my channel. I always give it about 5 minutes before I hop in the stream. But let's see here. So we've got Craig. We've got Aqua Garden Zen. What's going on? We've got Dr. Anthony Mazeral. What's up? Hello from Peru. Well, I hope you're doing well and you're not too hot. Bipolar Aquatics, David Rayner. Thingamatorium, what's going on? Let's see here. Alishan, hello. Fanaticals, Seth, Timbo, Hillbilly Aquatics, Ray Aquatics, S, Stephen P, 2003, Baron von Yinzer, Beck's Fish Room, Richard McCarthy, Mark Sturlson, and by the way, I called Vinay from Color Guppies. I haven't had a response from him yet, but that was so kind of you to donate the 50 towards his cause, and so I'm waiting to hear back from him, and as soon as I do, I'll send him money his way. Dragon Lair, what is going on? Telling everybody to give the thumbs up before we roll out. I appreciate that. Ricky De Hoyos, hello. Took some time off the internet. Well, I can sympathize with why you'd want to do that. That's for sure. And Aquapuncture, Ben Backstrom, Scott's Aquatics, Good Life Aquatics. We got lots of good people in here. Craig, and then we've got Your Average Fish Keeper, Solom Narabu, Scott's Aquatics. What's up, buddy? The Yeti, and then Rocky and Miles. Hello. Zebra Pleco fans, oh yeah, we all are. Melissa, Pine Belts Aquatics, Yellowstone Aquatics, Dope Aquatics, Big Okie Eye, BJ Palmer, what is going on? Let's see here. Mike's Tank Syndrome, what's up? It's like multi-tank syndrome. Maria Z, hey there. And who else? I know we're probably missing one more. Oh, Chris Howell, what's up? Beck's Fish Room, hello. Eric Wyrock, hello. All right, so what would you guys like to chat about tonight? Now, I thought, you know, there's a few interesting fish news things, but what I started doing is every day on the Aquatic Morning Show on Maine's Tail Fins and Furs, which is Jess Norman's channel. She has kind of a morning variety show where they just chit chat, have coffee, talk about what's going on in their lives and in the fish family in general, as well as events coming up, you know, meets and greets and treats that are happening within the community, sales that are going on that are relevant. And then also we have, you know, a little segment now where I come on and I talk for anywhere between 2 and 6 or 7 minutes. Ideally, it's under 5 minutes about things in the news. And I'm doing that every day on their show. But for members, I'm going to start sharing that link at the beginning of the week to my favorite 3 or 4 of them that I found most interesting, because I pre-record them all at the beginning of the week in a perfect world. For Jess. So that's going to be another perk for members. And yet again, it's not something I'm denying from other people. You just have to go watch her stream in the morning, and it happens at different times. Usually towards the mid to end part of her stream is when I come on. And sometimes I'm going to be hopping in there and saying hi. And it's just something to kind of pair up with the channel, and also just to kind of have more interaction with the folks that are there every day in the fish fam that want to just hang out and chat. You know, I like having kind of a Cheers bar, you know, where everybody knows your name, that kind of thing. So, now, what do you guys want to do tonight? We could talk about issues you guys have and troubleshooting. We could take a look at how my fry and other fish are doing in the grow out tanks. We could feed fish. You know, I'm really up for whatever. And I do have my all important vanilla Dr. Pepper, my trusty steed by my side. I did kind of overhaul one of my tanks that was having a cyanobacteria problem, and that was rough. Well, okay, let's feed the fish, and if questions come up, I'll try to get them as they come through. I'm on StreamYard, and so sometimes on StreamYard I miss a question or two, but we'll try to do that. There's a great crowd of folks in here tonight, so I'm sure we can all talk amongst yourselves. But what we'll do right now is we'll get some food. We'll get some fresh food. I just went to the Aquarium Co-op and picked up a bunch of frozen Daphnia, frozen deshelled baby brine shrimp, and bloodworms. So we'll mix those together and we'll feed some fish, if that sounds good with you guys. We did have a bit of a tragedy in that these guys, my red fin or red tail glass tetras, decided that they needed to shed this mortal coil. And let's switch this around real quick. So in this tank here, which used to have, I mean, it used to have just a lot of fish. Now there's a lot of the glow light lamb chop fish. There's a few pencil fish left, and then there's some of my bell-bottom guppies, a few of Lucas Brett's line of guppies. In America, well, it's 4 different times in America, Mark, but welcome. It is, what time is it here? It's 4:30 p.m. or I guess that'd be 1630, 1600 after and 30 minutes, or actually it's almost 1700 after. But yeah, and these fish with the red tails, I had like 12 of them in here, and now there's only about 8 of them in here over the course of the last year. Now, the other sad thing that happened since you guys were last here was Rose, who's my little sweetheart betta, and she'll let me pet her, and she'll often swim through my hand when I make a little circle. She's just a fun little gal. She's probably one of my favorites. Also, by the way, look at all the lemon fleckos hanging out. We got the mom. We've got the some of her babies hanging out. The big dad is in there, and then we've also got the longfin hanging out back here, kind of tucked away underneath everything. And this is turning out to be a male, which, I don't know, interesting to me. Now, I need to cut these plants. If anybody is local and they want some plants for a nominal adoption fee, definitely let me know. I've got quite a few rare stems in here, and I usually take them to the store and kind of sell them to Aquarium Zen or something. But I'm going to be planting some of these new tissue cultures that I bought in the last few weeks. So if you guys recall, this was where did I get my current angelfish? I got these guys at a place called The Fish Store in Seattle, and they were bred locally. But they're a black, they call them a black moor angelfish. And then Rose, she was Jackson Pollock Fish Sticks partner. They were in here, and he died completely flayed out, looking completely perfect, like as if he were in a fighting pose. His gills flared out, his fins all flared out. He had no parasites in his stomach. And the only thing that I can think that happened was I took pictures of it and I did take a video of it all. But I think that the cyanobacteria that was in here literally built up enough that it was creating cyanotoxins. It was on every plant in this tank, and now we treated it with just some erythromycin and a big water change. Literally, there's just a little bit of diatom algae now, and maybe a few spots of it left. In fact, I really don't see any of it. 2 packets of erythromycin for a 22.5 gallon definitely seem to take care of the issue. And I removed all the fish that were in here, except I couldn't catch one red-tailed lake inlay loach, and there may be maybe one other fish in here, and then a few snails. But other than that, I got everybody out. The rummy nose rasboras, 3 of them died next to the betta that passed away. And the other thing that's going on in this tank is this heater has died on me. So it's like it says that it's on, but it's not warming anything. And the tank is holding at about 72 degrees just because of the room and the corner it's in and everything. And so that could have been part of what caused the betta to go downhill in health. But I mean, he's used to those conditions, and yeah, it shouldn't have killed him. I mean, 72 is plenty warm for a betta in theory. So let's get where is my cup? I just had it yesterday. Where'd it go? Well, we'll grab a new one. So in any case, how's everybody doing? It looks like a lot of you guys decided to watch my filterless / sick of water changes, stop doing water changes video. It was 40-minute long epic, and I could have talked for another 50 minutes or more, no problem. But I had to cut it off somewhere. But I hope that was of some use. I had a video on anoxic filtration and anaerobic or aerobic as well filtration, and it was well received. A lot of people had questions about how you can get deep substrate filtration, plenum filtration, stuff like that. And so I think there's still a lot left to learn and to share about the subject. Really, I could have done a video on every single aspect that we touched on, honestly. So what we're going to do here is we're going to have these Daphnia. I love these. They're great. They're very small, and they're Hikari brand. They're very small, but we're going to pop out 5 and into a cup. Oops. I'm rolling these like dice. And this is tank water, so the parameters in that tank are really good. And there's so many plants in there that I've never had any illness problems in there. So I like using that tank for the water. I also recently bought some more of these, which are the baby brine shrimp. And this stuff is like liquid gold to the fry. Really, when you get it in a tank that has some water movement, or just in a tank where the fish are feeding pretty actively and voraciously, you'll be able to get them to really hit this as if it were moving like brine shrimp. Brine shrimp are kind of lazy the way they move. They kind of just, jerk around and don't go anywhere in particular. And so it's pretty easy to replicate their activities as far as that goes. Now we've got bloodworms, and I'm allergic to these, so I'll have to wash my hands right after I do this, as you guys probably know if you've watched this before. Come on. and we'll pop out about 8 cubes of bloodworms for all the tanks. Then we're going to use a turkey baster to feed, but come on. So we got 6. Actually, we'll do 9. And then that way we can just cut the excess off. So let me wash my hands. I'm still here with you guys. I'm just washing up behind my ears. Actually, I'm not washing behind my ears. That would be a poor idea after I just handled bloodworms. But yeah, I'll get hives just from handling bloodworms. A lot of people say, well, why do you handle them? And my answer is because I'm a big dummy and I love my fish and they love my bloodworms, our bloodworms, their bloodworms. We all live in a yellow submarine. All right. So, and I keep them in a bag so that they aren't touching other stuff in the freezer. And then I did actually get this brine shrimp hatchery, and so I have a bunch of different types of eggs actually, but I've got some of these premium grade brine shrimp direct eggs that I'll be setting up in the hatchery soon too. So we're just going to bring this with us as a little cocktail beverage, and we're going to take this first to the Bebe fish tank because that's the most fun one to watch in my opinion. And then while the bloodworms and other stuff are melting, or thawing rather, we'll be able to feed the Daphnia and the other stuff. So let's take it right over to here. And again, if you guys have questions, do the @Secret History Living in Your Aquarium, because there's a good chance I'll miss the questions otherwise. Just in the way that YouTube and StreamYard fire up. So remember, I was feeding paramecium from this jar for the first 3 weeks or so. Well, now we have Corydora in here, and we have plecos, and we have a few gourami, but what we have quite a few of, and more than I was expecting, are the red or orange, whatever you want to call them, but the Venezuelana Aeneas cories. And they have been growing like a weeds. And at this size, we've got shrimp in there and we've got snails in there. So the bloodworms, even though they're a little too big for most of the fish, they're still not the worst thing in the world to have in here because these snails will be able to grab them too. So the snails and the shrimp will get them, and everyone will be all right. So I like to spread out where I'm feeding, but it's really not that much food. It looks like a lot. Corydora, yes. And the cories, Corydoras. Am I driving you insane with that? I know, it's Corydora. Let's see here. You wouldn't, Fish Tropic says, I wouldn't suggest using any tank water to prepare foods. Well, I just like using it because, I mean, yeah, there's cross-contamination, of course. I just put the turkey baster into the same tank. But generally, when I have an issue in my tanks, it spreads rather quickly anyways. I don't know if it's just because this room is humid or if it's nets that don't completely get sterilized. I mean, I usually put them in a bleach dip with water and bleach. But basically, you know, if one tank has an issue, I'm very careful with that tank. It doesn't get shared. So yeah, frozen baby brine shrimp are kind of hard to find for sure. Yeah, they are. Let's see here. So let's see here. Can I any help? I can get on green neon rasbora. You're trying for set water pH, trying for 7. I don't know what you need, Ray Cooper. What do you need for help there? What's your question? I'll try to help if I can. And let's see here. Yeah, you could just use dechlorinated water, but the problem is, whoops, I just killed the lights. Problem with dechlorinated water is a lot of times dechlorinated water, the dechlorinator will cause a skin to form around the eggs. And this is a tank where I'm actively still adding more eggs all the time because it's a hatch out slash nursery tank. And so because of that, I don't want them to get stuck in their egg casing. Same with the shrimp, that's common. And so, yeah, that's the reason I don't do it at the moment. But yes, you could, in theory, spread diseases and things. But by the way, look at these little orange and blue cories. Some of them are growing really fast, and they're about. So these were born at the end of October, one round, and the other round was born mid November, and this is the size they're at. Eating paramecium for the first month or so, and then eating Aquarium Co-op. I just buy the big bags of it, but you get the easy fry food because this is actually salmon meal mostly. It's not like a lot of the other fry food and stuff where there's not much nutrients in it. It's actually 60% protein by weight, which is really good for a manufactured non-fresh food. Now, Daphnia, mosquito larvae, those kind of things, they're going to be way better. Brine shrimp, right after they hatch, like literally while they still have their egg yolk, that's pretty nutritious. But if you wait, as you know, if you've seen my brine shrimp video, they don't really tell you, but brine shrimp are almost completely devoid of nutrition if you get them in that period before they begin to feed again in the aquarium. You know, they're less than 10% protein, and they're mostly water and chitin if you just get them within 12 hours. Yeah, yes, not Corydoras is plural and singular. Yeah, no, I know. I've been told a million times I can't help it. It's like beta and beta. I still will slip up and say beta sometimes. But here you can see the lemon and citrus are also doing really well. They're growing out. And, you know, this is a really good combo to grow together because we've got all the little celestial pearl danios in the midwater, and we've got about 20 of them right now in here. And they'll sell for about $10 a pop if you sell them, you know, one by one. But I always sell them for closer to five. And then if I sell them to a store, I ask for 250 or $3, and it's usually only when I have a lot of them that I'll resort to that because you can make a lot more money. You leave a lot of money on the table if you're not selling direct to consumer. But the Corydoras are able to scavenge and get all these little particles of food or flake food, and then you have to be careful with snails, and so I'm constantly grabbing snails out of here and feeding them to my pea puffers. But other than that, the plecos will eat a lot of the algae. They'll eat a lot of the food that falls down into the rocks. And this tank was set up to have rocks so that the fish could spawn in this tank, and the eggs wouldn't get eaten by the adults. Secret History, a citizen, welcome. What is the ideal percent water per water change? That's going to depend completely on your tank. So if you have a super planted aquarium, and I'm considering this one mildly to moderately planted, not highly planted, but we do have quick growing plants in here like Ludwigias and hornwort and water sprite and water wisteria, kabamba. Those all grow very fast, and so they are going to, and this is a 10-gallon here, they're going to need to be trimmed and so forth a lot more than a slow growing tank. Well, in a slow growing tank, though, the water isn't being cleared out by the plants as quickly in a slow growing low light tank. I actually have a pretty strong light on here from an aquascape tank. So these plants grow really quickly. You can see they're already doubling back on themselves just in about a 2-week period since I last trimmed them. Kabamba can grow over a foot in a week. And you can see the Kabamba furcata has that pinkish orange color, whereas the Kabamba in the front is a purple and green color. But when I change water in this tank, literally I wait for it to evaporate about a knuckle's worth, and then I'll put that, say, 5% back in. And around here, I have very low TDS in my tap water. So because of that, I'm not adding a bunch of TDS or KH or GH to the water. So it's not building up over time. And again, in this tank, we are feeding it pretty heavily for a small tank without a filter. This filter is not plugged in at all. It is just surface area for growth. And then the heater's actually not turned on either. So this is basically just a tank with a light on it and active substrate. But in any case, we've got, in this tank, we've got a lot of shrimp and snails and bottom feeders to account for the fact that when you feed any little tetra or rasbora or danio that you're hatching out, they drop a lot of food. And so a lot of that food falls to the bottom and you need a crew to get it. So this tank, I wouldn't change much water at all. But say a tank like this one, which right now it needs to be treated with an anti bacterial, a gram-positive antibiotic like erythromycin. You can see there's cyanobacteria forming back there. Now it's got algae and mold on it, but it's not good. It's forming. I can see it's telltale green, blue signs up here. And so it's in this tank and it was in the other tank. By the way, this is Peppy, the pigeon, and he makes sure that nobody jumps out of the tank. And so far it's worked really well. No one wants to come to the top of the tank because they think he's going to eat them. The next crew that we're going to feed, and the other thing is, this is a really nice looking, man, it doesn't look really nice on film for you guys, but this is Colorada. This is Bacopa Colorada, and it has a really nice red color to it right now, even though it's growing in sand. So I just wanted to show people that. I mean, there is soil underneath, but this soil is 3 years old. It's pretty spent. But this is a very acidic tank. And I just turned the air stone back on after I had this episode saying that this tank didn't have any filtration. Because after I got the acidity where I wanted it, I killed the filtration. Well, the problem is that I had to move every single resident of that tank in the other room when the betta died. I had to move them into here. So we've got baby plecos. We've got little bumblebee gudgeons. We've got a few hundred shrimp, amber tetras, ruby tetras, glow light rasboras, purple glow light rasboras. We have Similis corridoras, long fin panda corridoras, and you can see there's another one. And then there's even a few of the earliest batch of my Venezuelan or Venezuelana, I guess. And then there's some rummy nose in here also. So this tank is really full for a 17.5 gallon. So I did go ahead and turn back on the air stone for that tank, even though I was calling it a filterless tank until just the other day. Now, if we're going over to this tank I change 50% water every 3 to 4 days. And that's because there's a lot of these little gobies in here, and there are gouramis. Now, gouramis they're labyrinth fish. They can breathe air. But these ones, the Valenti ones, they really seem to need really fresh water or they discolor and get sick. It's just something I've noticed. And then we've also got hillstream loaches from Borneo in here. We've got threadfin rainbow fish. We've got Pseudomagil luminatus rainbow fish. in here. Beckford pencilfish, which also we have a bunch of babies from them in there. So there's a whole lot going on. Also, Mary, thank you so much for the first super chat of the evening. Thank you so much, Mary Page. You are a super duper chatter. Thank you. I appreciate it. So before we feed any babies, we're going to try to call out Cthulhu and the evil brats that live in this tank, which are my Haplochromis Milumbu, which right now they are a mystery what their Latin name should be. And there's also a lot of algae on the tank, obviously. The other problem is I can't lift more than about 5 pounds at a time because of waiting for my neck and back surgery that's coming up. So I don't want to mess anything up worse right before surgery. But yeah, so we're gonna feed these guys because we're having to get bloodworms too, and the Corydora love bloodworms. Um, they really do. But I like to spot feed, and I like to put a lot of the, if I have bloodworms, hang them up on the plants like this, because they'll slowly fall down and make their way to the bottom. But then you'll get the midwater fish able to see them kind of floating and doing their thing, and you'll get a lot more feeding going on from that. So I don't know. That's just a tip that I think is helpful. So here we're using just the top of the water from the cup, and that's because in here we have all the little baby. Ooh, look at that little perfect ring light. We have all the little baby Turkana jewel cichlids, and they're no longer schooling with each other so much. They're all kind of hiding in different spots. So there's some right here. There's some over in the back. There's some on the sponge filter. And so we're just kind of puffing random Daphnia and baby brine shrimp all over. Up here we've got the lovely Apisto trifasciata, and we've got cobalt. There's the female Apisto, but since I just put the tip of this into another tank, I'm not going to feed with it literally in the tank. See, there's duckweed and everything on it, so I'm literally just feeding. These are my guppies and endlers, so we're just giving them a little food up here. Little mix of things. We've got my Medaka rice fish up here, and they haven't been producing much, but that's understandable. They are a seasonal producer to some degree. In here we have my albino paradise fish, and this is another no filter, no heat tub. There is a filter in there. There's the line hooked up. It's just not running, and all that stuff will be colonized with beneficial bacteria, even though the water's not running through it. As long as there's oxygen touching the surface area, you will still have the beneficial bacteria in there. It's just that it may not be as much or as dense, but it'll definitely be enough that if you're reintroducing food to the system, they'll be able to slowly bring it back on board. Now, in here, we've got some of the polar Arctic or polar convict cichlids, as they're called. And I have, again, another issue in this tank with that I was growing it out for the video on filterless tanks. And look at all the red root floaters. I mean, they look beautiful. They look really wasted out in this live stream, but they are blood red underwater, and they're all blooming all across this tank. So, I mean, there's a whole bunch of them. If anybody needs red root floaters near me and can drive here or meet me somewhere in the area, I can hook it up. But these guys are in here with the African fire Barbs, with some of my bell-bottom juvenile live bear endlers. And then we've also got the 8-banded and 5-banded Barbs. We've got the golden the golden eye cichlids, dwarf cichlids. And if we kick some of this out of the way and see the light, we've also got some more adult of the orange and blue Corridora venezuelana, which are just a morphology of the Aeneas. And over here, you can see we actually have, I don't know if you guys can see it, we have fry, though, and I don't know who they're from yet. Now, there's only one female Endler in this tank, so I am curious to see. Doesn't look like Endler fry, so I'm really curious to see who's living in here. This is a very low maintenance tank. I don't do anything to it, but there was some protein film, so I am running an air stone to get rid of that. And all it does is the bubbles come to the surface, and when they pop, they throw the protein onto something else. So it's not even a very effective way of dealing with protein films and whatnot. It just kind of passes the buck, honestly. But we're gonna try feeding. Also, oh, I haven't shown you guys, but I did when I filmed my buddy's reef tanks. I got some of these beta maculosa fry that he has again. So we've got some beta maculosa in here. Now these are real mean fish, but they're very young right now. But they'll need to have their own tank pretty much. They may even need their own tank each. Like they might need their own 10-gallon each. But these are the biggest betta. They're babies right now that are only about an inch long. They're still going to eat inches of bloodworms. They're just little carnivores. Yeah. And then the CPD adults that the babies were from are in here. We've got a whole other Tenkara jewel cichlid group in here. There's 5 of them. And then the pair that had the babies are actually in this tank with a bunch of butterfly goodeids, which seems like an odd pairing. And oh, butterfly goodeids. We've got butterfly goodeids. We've got Praecox dwarf rainbow fish. And then we've also got the pea puffers in here. And a lot of people are like, that is not okay. But it's working out wonderfully. Nobody has any bite marks or wounds or anything. So they are working out well. I do like to make sure that the pea puffers get some bloodworms in the back. They hang out in the back more than in the front. And so making sure that they have a whole stash of snails and other food makes me feel better about the whole thing. And then over here, we've got the oddball with the cancer, the least killifish. She has a big old cancer growth on her. And I should probably euthanize her soon, unfortunately. We're going to give them some of the littler foods. But we also have the rubra, Jinga sulpharis, related to the Jinga rubra. And then we also have pygmy sunfish, and then another form of Babalti shrimp in here, whereas a lot of the other tanks have Malua. This one has cherry red shrimp. We're going to make sure they get some food too. And we also have the really cool Leucanzi, the Enigmatochromius leucanzis are in here. So I want to make sure, because they're a little shy, I like to make sure that I spot feed them, and the females right back here. So make sure I give them some bloodworms. Now, the other thing that's cool that you probably can't see is that these beautiful Tinwini Danios, named after a company that collects wild fish in Southeast Asia and Thailand, the Tinwin Company, the males have a beautiful copper and purple color, and the females have a gold and silver color that's really nice. So I just wanted to point that out. Now, some people say you can't keep cories in a filter-free tank. You can't keep cory, I guess. I mean, whatever. There's no good plural of the shortened form. But these guys do really well. They've been in here for 3 years with no filtration, no heater. They just are high up on this rack, and so they stay at about 75 degrees in this room. And this is only a 5-gallon tank, but we've got 3 of them in here that at different points in time, I thought they were goners. They had one of them had columnaris when there was nothing in this tank, and then the other 2 had hole in the head type issues, and I was able to fix it. I don't know what it was for sure, but they healed up, and I've just never wanted to reintroduce them to the general population. So this is kind of my tank of broken fish, in that there's some fish that have lived in here with problems for quite a while. And then we've got a lot more of the little gourami, albino gourami paradise fish growing out in here. There's one that's big. And then we've got a bunch of Neocaridina shrimp also in here. And so we're going to feed them a little bit of the fine particles. And in here, we've got wild bettas. So they actually like to eat scuds more than anything else I've found. So there's scuds naturally in this tank for them. And while I will give them a few bloodworms, they seem to just want to have a consistent diet of those scuds or amphipods for them to eat. So we'll see if this guy, when we spot feed him, if he wants to eat. And then next door, we've got just some beautiful color because of all of the omega-3s and the athataskin and xanthophylls that we've been feeding these guys from the jackfruit leaves. They have a full rainbow palette in these little meteor minnows in their fins, which I've never seen before. So I'm really excited to get them in such good shape. And they're not even tanning in the sun or anything. So we'll see if this guy's going to eat in front of us. They are a little shy, but they have a beautiful blue jewel tone eye. It's almost like a turquoise blue. So they're cool fish too. And then we'll feed, last but not least, these tanks down here. We're going to feed some more grow outs of, in here, we've got the little ember or amber barbs, whatever you want to call them. They go by both. And they're from Africa. They're one of the smallest vertebrates. They are full grown at 1/2 inch and really cool. They're smaller than least killifish, but they will eat baby brine shrimp. Now, in here also, we have some Panchax annulatus, and we also have some gold line shrimp. So we have an arrangement of things. And the Turkana jewel cichlids, they've been fed. So now you're seeing these guys. You'll probably see the pencil fish in a minute. I'll get to the chat again soon. Sorry, guys. It's just hard to multitask feeding, holding the camera, and having the turkey baster all at once. But now we're in the home stretch. We're gonna feed the African community tank, the Cichlid tank down here, and in here we've got a big old boy, and he is the we've also got some apistos, which aren't African, but we've got these big boy blue lip buffalo cichlids, buffalo head cichlids, which are very rare. We've got the blue ones, and then accidentally, oddly enough, we have some green ones. Let me get this other stuff out of the way while I'm getting in here. Some green lipped ones. And to make this tank even weirder, yet we have half beaks, and I'll pull them out when the females are pregnant. They're live bears. They're the only live bear that I know of in the like small fish family, freshwater, from Southeast Asia. They're from Borneo. Then also in here we have about 8 juvenile to adult. They're really adult by now. They're reproductive age bettas that I'm trying to condition to live in a group. Now we're gonna feed this grumpy guy again. He eats a lot, but I like to spot feed him too, so that I don't waste it, because he's so aggressive. I mean, he just slammed the tip of this, and his little girlfriend is also in on it. Now these are mouth brooders, and then there's some Pandero apistos down in here that are trying to get food. This little betta wants some food. So what I'll do is I'll spot feed, make a big old mess over here of what he can eat, and then we'll move things aside and we'll feed everybody over here. We'll get the lighter stuff hanging up in the water, and then again we're gonna put there's some barbs in here, there's some cuckoo catfish synodontis in here, and some upside down catfish, and then there's more of the buffalo head guys coming out here, a male and female yet again. So everybody's getting their food tonight. And then last but not least, don't want to leave out the half beaks. We'll feed right at the top of the water, gently letting it come out and float. And then this is really aerated water in this tank because they have a waterfall. I stuffed the little thing that allows you to angle your it's a shim that lets you elevate the angle of your hang off the back filter. Actually shoved it right into the water overflow on the intake, and so it pours back out. We got a couple bettas also in here with the Turkana jewel cichlids. They're all short fin plakat bettas, and that makes me worry less. I don't know if that's a smart idea or not. We'll find out. I have a feeling when the Turkanas color up for spawning, they may no longer be such friendly neighbors, but we'll see. Hold on. I'll get to your chat questions in just a moment, guys. We're almost in the home stretch. Put the last bit of food in this tank because it's so densely stocked. But again, this is the tank that I'm always using the turkey baster on and spot cleaning all over the place. All the little rock crevices and things really make for a lot of areas for food to hide and then rot. But with all the little scuds, amphipods, and little critters that live in the crevices of this tank that I've introduced, seed shrimp and things, blackworms, they live in this substrate and they do pretty well. So yeah. All right. Let's see here. Let me get situated one more time. It's a party in my room. Party in my room. All right, guys. So you can see how haggard I look. Sweaty. Hair sticking to my face. Oh, and I think I see a super chat. Let's get everybody situated one more time so we're a happy family. And I'm sure questions have built up and you guys are saying, you're such a mean, negligent host, you jerk. But now I'm going to get to your questions. And also take off this coat because it's 80 degrees in here. All right. Let's see here. Another $1.99 super chat by Mary, it looks like, too. Thank you so much, Mary. I appreciate that. So, Vinoski's Tanks, what's going up? Fanatical, Tanked Aquatics, what's up? Dee Dee, always good to see you. Canasteel Valley Cichlids, what's up? I'm gonna go right down to the bottom. Skipper, what's up? PJ, what's up? Is Jess in here from Maine's Tails, Fins, and Furs? John the Fisherman, what's up? Let's see here. John Monroe, good to see you. Lori, great to see you. I'd love to see your fish again soon, your monster fish. Jay Oliver, thank you so much for the $5 super chat, buddy. I appreciate it greatly. I do. Jay, what's going on? Yeah, Jay, oh wow, I can see how out of date I am because yeah, you were looking at the plants when I said that's mildly planted. Yeah, my idea of mild is definitely different than a lot of others. Some potato, what's going on? Oh, good. I'm glad the tip about potassium and your yellowing tips of plants. I hope that helps. I hope that is the issue and that it works out well. All right, we got a Russian name or Cyrillic at least that I cannot read. I am not that talented. The Scaper, hello, what's going on? Good to see you. Mad Cat, good to see you. Bunny Viper, always good to see you as well. Laura Sutton, good to see you. Azuravian, what's up? Lisa's Tank, what's up? Nola's Dolls and Aquatics. How many tanks does Alex have? Alex has 28 tanks with fish in them. If you count all the ones that don't have filters. If you only count like filtered tanks, I've got about 16. Oh, interesting. Anthony Mazerall, Dr. Mazerall, saying that he has collected cories from stagnant. Man, my hair looks crazy. I'm just gonna pull my ponytail out because yeah, I just look like a haggard mountain lion that's been through a blender. But he says that he's collected them in stagnant putrid water, which is really interesting. I wonder if the pH is so low that that all the ammonia and everything is just evaporating off as ammonium, and that there's some sort of fermentation going on to handle all that. Heather Nielsen, what's going on? Scarlet Aquatics, hey, it's been a while. Hope all is well. You mentioned Daphnia losing their nutritional value after the egg sac are dissolved. When did they begin to eat after hatching? Thanks for all you do. Well, okay, so you're kind of right, but I was actually talking about brine shrimp. So brine shrimp lose their nutritional value. They are born, and if you don't feed them within 3 hours of them hatching out of their shell or cyst, they will use that energy, one, getting out of the cyst or the shell, and then two, in just moving around and growing and trying to get this growth spurt that occurs. And then they start looking for food, but they don't even have the cells in place to have a stomach until 36 hours after they're hatched. So 36 hours is the true answer when they can start consuming food and metabolizing it. But you make a great point by bringing up Daphnia, because if you've seen a Daphnia, they look kind of like an oval. And a lot of times they've got two more little dots on the bottom of them. And those are egg sacs that they carry behind them. And those egg sacs are full of little eggs, which are full of the yolk, the protein, the vitamins and minerals, and all sorts of basic amino acids and things for that life needs. And so those are a great treat if you can get a midway to almost hatched pregnant Daphnia that's carrying. They're a great source of protein. Daphnia are a better source of protein than brine shrimp in most studies. However, like San Francisco Bay saltwater brine shrimp tend to be higher in protein, as much as twice as much protein as the ones found in the Great Salt Lake. So it also depends on what they have to eat in their micro ecosystem. Let's see here. Randy Roman, what's going on, buddy? Jay Oliver, oh yeah, got your chat. All right, I'm working my way to the bottom. Motor City, what's up? And then we've got Chevy Fish, good to see you. Tin Cans Zero. I bought 3 rabbit snails and they're really cool. Is there anything I need to know about them? Will they eat algae? They'll eat spirulina and soft algae. They aren't going to eat your hardest algae. They don't have a good tooth to like chew it away off of like diatom algae and things like that. But they are great waste eaters. So food that gets dropped and not eaten by other fish, great for that. Greg R., thank you so much. I just saw your super sticker. I've learned more from you than any other channel. Thank you for doing what you do. That means a lot to me. I really do appreciate that. I do. By the way, the blue lip buffalo cichlids, their lips are turning blue. I don't know if you guys can see that, but when they feed, they actually turn a really bright blue color, and their fins turn orange, and their dorsal fin turns yellow with a white stripe down the top, and then they also get red pectoral fins. It's a pretty unusual pattern to see. I mean, yeah, you don't really see that much. It is so warm in this room that I kind of want to move to the other room where we got my big tank, and maybe, just maybe, we'll see some of the leopard frog plecos that are in there. They've been acting like they want to spawn. They've been pushing the other plecos out of caves, the lemon plecos. So I'm really hoping that they're wanting to do that. Oh, Azure Avian says that his Corys, or her Corys, his, I think, though, gave babies last night. So somebody's asking about how many tanks I have. Well, I have these tanks, this tank, tanks. This room's a mess right now. As you know, I was filming videos, and I was filming them in the living room, and my wife came out because it was 3 in the morning. That's when I make most of my videos. And she saw this mess of fish equipment all over in here. And she's like, nope. And she just started picking it up and dropping it off in there. And then, of course, I don't have organizational skills because I'm me. And so I just, shove things out of the way until I can figure out what I'm going to do with myself. So let's see what's going on here. I have something else I want to show you guys too. So, did they come out to play, to feed? Actually, they didn't. I've had a cryptnuri that, or nurii that is just hanging on by a thread. All the roots got ripped out a while back, and it's still surviving. Now, in here too, we also have the other really cool thing that happened is there's just this left of it, just a mushy vessel left of it. But we did have the beautiful Upon Aegiton red crispus. Look at this thing. We did have it come to the top, flower, and do a lovely job of creating some seeds. So those seeds are actually, I'm curious if they're still floating. They were floating for a few days in here, but what's supposed to happen is the seed casing, which is purple or lavender, it's supposed to fall away, and then the seeds are supposed to fall. Now, I'm a little bit hesitant or a little worried because I'm afraid that either the plecos or the lemon plecos in particular are going to eat them. Maybe the Cory might also. I could see any live bear just being curious and pecking at it. But let's see, do we have any floating around? I put them over here too to hedge my bets. Yeah, you can see. Let me get one to the edge. So in here, these are all plants that I want to keep, but they were very covered in cyanobacteria at one point, and I've got pictures and video, and I'll probably release how to treat cyanobacteria outbreaks. It's very easy, but I only resort to antibiotics in the last case scenario. But here you can see the casing of that same plant, and then here is the little seed, which is like a clear jelly looking thing. And then it also has, there's another one right here, has a little split like you'd find in the center of a clove of garlic, like a little green 2-leafed bud. And here comes another little piece. And they're going to find their way to the bottom, sink, and then sprout. And since there's no fish in here right now, well, there's one that is hiding somewhere. Assuming it made it, there's one red-tailed lake inlay loach in here. The other ones are all in the other room. So, man, I thought that the leopard frog plecos would be out, but no such luck. So, oh, we got another $9.99 super chat. Laura Sutton, thank you so much. Appreciate it greatly. You guys are far too kind. What a great way to start off 2022. Oh, someone's walking up to my door. I think it's Amazon. I'm just surprised they got here with the snow. We still have 6 inches to a foot of snow. All right, let me get you guys set up here. We're gonna have a talk. We're gonna have a coffee talk. Wow, if you guys could have seen how dumb that was, what I just did, you would have been impressed. You would have been proud. There's a spring-loaded mechanism on the gimbal and tripod that holds the phone or camera, and I tried to adjust it by tilting it back, and it was enough that it knocked it out of its cradle, and so it just decided to go bing, and it launched the upper half across the room. All right, so I'm cutting down to the bottom. I have a couple different announcements. Okay, I can't get erythromycin though. It's been turning some fish into how can a fungal take down so many fish? I'm medicating and I'm having a little bit trouble understanding your question. You said I can't get erythromycin, which is a gram-positive antibiotic, though it's been turning some fish into velvet and some have a parasite. So velvet is a parasitic issue. I am so confused. How can fungal take down? So I don't think, well, I guess it depends on what it is. It could be fungal or it could be another little, what are they called? I'm spacing on the name, but there's a little type of critter, lives in ponds and things, and I can't think of the name of it. It's gonna bug me. But really, I'm just, yeah, I can't think of that, what that's called, but let me hop to the bottom. I hate being behind. All right, I'm caught up finally for the first time. It's the cops. Swanvillian Civil Rights Tribune. Gotta love that name. I don't know what it means. Love from Malaysia, Alex. Hey, why don't you message me again about your issue, and I'll try to help you in the comments. Because I'm a little unclear. Do you have velvet or some sort of like white fuzzy problem on your fish, and you can't get a hold of antibiotics? Because you wouldn't want to treat that with antibiotics. You'd want to treat that with something like flubendazole or an anti-parasitical. Sometimes, you know, you can get anti-worming, deworming things like levamisole that will happen to kill a lot of parasitic infections also. And likewise, you can use sometimes gram-negative bacterial medications to kill secondary infections or parasites. But gram-negative in general, so if you're a scientist, you're going to rip me apart for this, but in general, just to think about it for our hobby, gram-positive means positive as in air. So think about it as air goes up and up positive. And so it means it's a bacteria that is dependent, it's aerobic, it's dependent on air. So that forms in open cuts, wounds, hole in the head can get that as a secondary infection, and things like that. Whereas gram negative, like you might want to use furin or Miracin 2. There's all sorts of different products out there, but you want a gram negative if it doesn't use oxygen. So if it's internal, so if it's in the gut, and that's a little tricky because like Corydoras, they have oxygen all through their gut because they gulp air all the time. But in like the organs, if it's some sort of systemic infection or blood-borne infection, that's where a gram negative, and that's true for humans and other life forms as well. Let's see here. Yeah, sorry guys, I'm just missing it with StreamYard. I started paying the $30 a month for the StreamYard version. That's like the $50 Pro version. They had it on sale on New Year's, so I got it finally instead of the $20 version. And basically, it doesn't show me all your comments. If you say at the Secret History Living in Your Aquarium, or if you're a member, then I notice it seems to get you, or a mod. But if you're not those things, then it's hit or miss. If there's an at Secret History Living in Your Aquarium, though, it always pops up. So if you do that, I'll see it. Hey, Kevin, what's going on? Good to see you, man. He says, suddenly I had an infection in my tank where my fish started having cloudy eyes, and they had a growth on their head, then died. I tried general cure, fungus away, Melifix, but it's not working. Sounds like that might be the start of dropsy, where their eyes bulging as well. Just a guess. But the other thing is you were having ammonia problems over and over in that tank, and that would also be a sign of the stress of high nitrates or nitrites, which could be happening if something's uncycled, something died. Your bacterial treatment could have killed your good bacteria in your filtration. Now, usually a dose of at the size that they recommend on the package is not going to kill your beneficial bacteria. It may kill the outside beneficial bacteria, may cause your tank to get a little cloudy for a few days as those dead bacteria cells float off. But those should settle or get eaten by other bacteria and fungi and little critters that, you know, you've seen it under the microscope on my channel. We found 14 different species in a drop of water that looked like it was totally clear and drinkable. So there's lots of things in your water that it could be. Now, the cloudy eye makes me think, though, that it's something more with the water quality. That seems to be like a general systemic failure that's going on when it gets to that point, unless it's actually an eye infection. So I would focus on water quality, doing water changes, and making sure that your ammonia is 0. Your nitrates are under, say, 40 parts per million. And that's being liberal. I'd want them down at like 20 if my fish had been getting sick. Another thing I have to announce is that I will be debating, I guess that's the word, whether or not fish have feelings. And more specifically, do fish have the ability to have emotions? And we'll be talking about the latest in neurology and psychology. And it should be interesting. That's going to be next Tuesday. And Michael from Michael's Fish Room, you know, the East Coast dude, he will be discussing the thought that no, fish have no feelings. Now, my take is going to be that feelings are, we're going to get a little out there, because feelings are, that's an amorphous word. What does that mean? I don't think that they're anywhere near what humans have, but I do think that there is an interesting debate. And when you start with complexity, so what is a feeling? Well, it means a reaction to a stimuli, or a sensing of a stimuli, acknowledgement of stimuli by the neurotransmitting system within a life form, generally. And that is certainly occurring. Now, if the fish, can they miss one another? Do they get lonely? Or is it all autonomic nervous system behavior? And to me, that's the difference. And I think it depends on the fish, honestly. You can see pea puffers, and they are looking across the room, their eyes lock onto something, and they think about it, you know? I think that life, the more complex the brain cells get, the more in our mind they can feel or have emotions. That being said, the orders of magnitude that we probably, we don't know for sure. We're learning all the time, but we also don't understand, for instance, octopus and cuttlefish. They literally cannot have, by doing physics and looking at the smallest microchip, the size of an atom. So either the atom being positive or negatively charged, like an ion. You couldn't make a brain that could compute the level of complexity that changing colors, when they see a color and a pattern, and then they change it and are able to move with that and to carry it with them and project it on their body, as well as texture to that many cells. There is no way I mean, it was kind of a paradox for a long time, where they were trying to figure out, this octopus brain is too small. There's not enough way, you can't pack enough neurons in the brain for it to think, to do that even. So how's it doing it? And now they've learned that the nervous system, or brain, if you want to call it that, is diffused throughout the entire body, through all the nerves. And it's a different system. And just like our computers work in binary, in the organic world, you can have quad or octa. You can have as many character sets as you want, really. At a certain point, it gets less efficient. But It's kind of interesting. Let's see here. Aquaballs, what's up, buddy? Good to see you. 9 more likes and we get to 100. All right, well, I'm not leaving till that happens. So Vinny says anthropomorphism, and I am glad. And it looks like Dr. Mazeral agrees. And that would be the projection of human emotions onto fish or inanimate objects. To me, what about a human that has dementia? So they can't remember their experiences beyond momentary, but they probably still have feelings, we would say. They can be scared, they can be startled, they can be happy, even if it changes on a dime. I've seen it with my grandma before she passed away from it. So what about humans in a coma that can't react to stimuli? But years later, we find out they could hear for parts of it or for years of it, and they remember conversations, and they had emotional reactions to that without any outward appearances of it. So how do you measure it? Even in humans, it's a tricky thing to measure. But to me, what happens is the more complex it is, the more complex that you can think about memory and abstract thought of projecting into the future, the more you can feel. So you could build a computer to replicate the human brain identically. And would that computer be able to think and feel? If you say no, then you believe in a soul or something intangible. If you agree with me, yes, then you're a literalist and you believe in the science that essentially, yes, it is the same as a brain. If you're saying it has all the same neurocircuitry, it is the same as a brain. And yeah, Amazon, Dr. Mazeral says he uses the keep it simple, stupid principle as a scientist. You know, so I think that's interesting though, because it's who cares? Who cares if fish have feelings? Is really at the end of the day, or if a guppy feels as much as a pea puffer, as much as an orca, as much as a chimpanzee. At what point, though, what about a very low IQ human? Do they have feelings? There's got to be a cutoff somewhere. Where are you going to make it? And so to me, it has something to do with the abstract reasoning and logic of I've had an experience, this was the outcome, and I don't want it or I want it, and then they have a reaction that's not simply based on this is coming at me. It's based on an abstract thought in their head. So to me, that's what it is. We'll get more into it, and yeah, I think it'll be interesting, and I think that at the end of the day, it's impossible to know. It's impossible to know whether I'm real or you're real or in your brain you feel anything. For all I know, I'm projecting all of you. I mean, if we're going on a philosophical tangent, but it is very hard to know what an animal would be feeling. Okay, so we'll be talking about that next Tuesday, and it'll be with Michael, who is very keep it simple, stupid. He's very, he said he will not be citing scientific papers. It's just going to be logic and his opinions. And I said, that's fine. Let's keep it civil and let's do that. All right, so what is this? What do I have here? This is the kind of last thing I wanted to touch on tonight because I'm excited about it. Hopefully when I get my spine surgery, I'll be able to hike again. I'm counting on that. If not, I'll be super depressed and probably go live in a hut in the woods. Yes, does Schrodinger's cat have feelings? Half the time. So in here, they kind of overdo this, but this is called a Tenkara Rod. And you guys saw me this summer fishing and net fishing. I like dip net fishing the most because it's simple. But this rod here, this little rod, and as you saw, it fits here so I can go hiking with it for a few days. This is an ancient Japanese, well, not ancient, but the practice probably goes back to ancient Japan. It's about a 300-year-old tradition in the form that we see it here. But you see the end of this? It's just a piece of string. Now, some people will literally flick this and just use the motion of this bouncing around. Others will use lures, flies, dry flies, and replicate things. But check this out. This pole that I just pulled out goes all the way to 13 feet. So you can cast it across the water to catch things, and it's for micro fishing. You don't want to catch a fish over about 5 pounds on it, or it could cause some damage to the line. There's no eyelets on it. There's no reel or bail on it. It's just a stick that you whip. Now, the other thing that you can do with it that's really cool is, and this is big in Japan, amongst southern Japanese in the mountain culture, they catch bitterlings and minnows. But what they do is they flex the rod like this and let it go. And where they've arced that, just like a bow and arrow, where the crest of the arc is, they'll hold onto the fly and they'll let it go. And that will sling cast it. You can Google Tenkara, which is spelled like this, and then sling casting, S-L-I-N-G. It's pretty interesting. It's to pinpoint if you're like up on a hill and it's a 10-foot drop into the pond on, like, you know, a mountain stream. You're able to get in there either by literally lowering a 13-foot rod in there, and since it's so long and it has so much give to it, just the nature of your body holding it, your body can't hold still, and when you've projected it out that far, it'll move very erratically, like a little gnat. So Takari Endo, the secret history living in your aquarium. Let's see. What did you say that I missed? The mods here are so good. Like, really, the mods are mods and Alex really tried their best to help people with their question. Thank you guys. Yeah, thank you so much, you guys. A lot of you guys help me field the questions that I miss. Like I said, when I'm streaming on StreamYard, unless it's got my name of my channel in it with the @ symbol, I for sure miss it. Even if it does have my name with it on there, then it comes scrolling on a window, but sometimes it's out of order, out of sequential order and things like that. So it's less than ideal. When I stream from YouTube itself, it's a lot less complicated. So but I can't do anything like share screens or switch cameras, or if the stream quality goes down, I can't restart it or reset the modem or router or anything like that. So in any case, yeah, a lot of people that are into microfishing use this rod, and I'm going to do a video on the history of these rods and how they came to America, which is a recent thing for the most part. And you know, it's handy that it fits in here. I can put the whole fly casting kit, roll it up in here. No bait needed other than flies, dry flies. And yeah, and I have been a fly fisherman since I was 7 years old. My dad's had me fly fishing. At about 12 years old, I said, I'm not going with you anymore. He and I just don't get along golfing or fishing or anything instructional. We have our own ways of doing it, and we don't get along. Now that we're adults, we can kind of get back together and enjoy it a little bit. But definitely going to master that one before I go out with him, because I think there'll be a lot of F-bombs and maybe even snapping in half of the rod on his part if I were to just hand him it and say, let's go do it my way, or the Japanese way. He'd be like, well, we're American. And it's been 65 years, 70 years learning the Japanese way. I'm American. He's not like a bigot or anything. He's just a diehard fly fisherman in the American tradition. Yeah, I'm definitely going to take it to that pond fish tropic. But yes, Chevy Fish, Mary Page, Lori Fish Gal, I mean, Dragon Lair, so many of you guys are killer mods. You guys rock. It's awesome that when I come in here, usually we don't have to deal with people spamming and going nuts and causing problems. And I'm just grateful that we don't have to deal with that. Now, tonight, 503 Aquatics Ladies Night stream, which is a graphic stream for adults where they talk about anything you could think of. It's on right now. And so I am going to bid you guys au revoir. If I missed your question, I do apologize. This was one of those random streams. The next live stream on Friday will probably have a subject. And obviously on Tuesday, it will be a debate about the cognition and the mental acuity of fish. So yeah, it'll be interesting. But I appreciate the lives, the live super chats that you guys have given me, the memberships, you guys just watching my videos. It means so much to me. It keeps the channel going. Today, I had some of the most views I've had on a video in one day, with it coming out of the gates with 2,000 views, which was really great. But, you know, less than 20% of my viewers have their bells on as an alert. In fact, it's about 14% according to YouTube. And YouTube will turn that bell off on you if you don't go there by force and watch several videos every 6 months or 3 months or whatever their arbitrary number of time is. So make sure that's on if you do want to hear from me. If you don't want to hear from me and you just want to check in whenever, then make sure that bell is off. I don't want to annoy you. I know how that goes. But I hope you guys have an awesome evening. I had a good time hanging out with you guys. If you're going over to ladies night, maybe we'll say hashtag wet sleeves. Hashtag wet sleeves. I like that. Yeah. I don't have sleeves on tonight. I have a cat that's in the form of a galaxy. For all we know, we are but a neuron, a speck of dust in a cat's dream. You know, like the Whovilles, like the Who's, like on a speck of dust, the universe or whatever. So in any case, guys, I hope you have a great night. And I really appreciate all the support and the mods being great. Sorry if I didn't get to your questions. Again, drop them in the comments. I spend at least 4 or 5 hours a day going over questions, emails, comments, and I try to get to as many as I can. Most days it's all of them that I see. So all right, guys, have a great one, and I will talk to you later. Take care. Bye, and thank you.